Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is MMA Underground presented by a Yankee and the Brit. And we have a special guest for you today, Fotini Kandris. And I hope I got that right and I didn't botch your name, but thank you so much for coming on.
It's okay.
So I'm really excited to have you on. And I'm going to be completely honest. Every time I see female fighters, it makes me excited. I have a 22-year-old daughter, so I love when women show other younger women that they can do things. And I'm just wondering, what got you into MMA?
I'd had some rough instances in my youth and had some things happen that probably shouldn't have happened and been in situations I shouldn't have been in. And it made me feel like I wasn't safe and that I couldn't protect myself. And I started working with a trainer and he fought. And he thought, hey, I'm a bull in a china shop, He's like, I really think you would be good at this, like I said, I grew up kind of rough and did a lot of things I shouldn't. And he thought it really would be good for me, not only to learn, that how to protect myself, but also because he thought it's something I would enjoy and be good at. So that's kind of what got me in it. Was I just wanted to find a way to show myself that I would never give up, no matter how bad things got or how hard they were getting or whatever was going on at the time, that I could persevere and overcome and keep fighting, essentially. And it turned into really fighting.
Well, which martial art did you start with? What first got you into
all of it? So I didn't have any martial art background. I played hockey in high school. I swam. I was on the softball team. So I really didn't have any background with it, but I was always a brawler. So I like to throw hands, not like I knew how to, move your head in a bar brawl, So, I guess you could say I really took to the wrestling and the boxing. Not say that that's what I was great at, but it's what I took to the most. And I started from the beginning. My coach actually, before I worked in a gym or I worked anywhere, he showed me the beginnings of everything: jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing. We did everything. And then when it hit a certain point, he said, okay, now you've got to join, a jiu-jitsu gym and, if you want to take it further. So
you pretty much started just training MMA off the bat.
Right off the bat, yeah.
Just going straight for it. We call that kind of brawling style in a bar where you don't don't really move your head and you're just throwing hands. We call that throwing windmills in the UK.
I can throw some windmills.
It's how I used to fight in school. You just put your head down and just swing like.
Yeah. So, I don't put my head down either. I'm looking right at you.
Straight for it.
Well, I didn't know this about you, but I have to say, you saying you played hockey, that's the sport I grew up playing. So that gives me another actual question I didn't have for you, but how was it coming up playing female hockey? Because I know where I grew up, we had one female on our team because we didn't have another, a whole league for females.
So I grew up in a college town in upstate New York. So, we're always running the streets looking for something to do. And we had a big ice skating rink because we had a college hockey team. So we would just go to the hockey rink and skate. And one day some guy grabbed me and he was like, have you ever thought about playing hockey? And of course we played ice hockey. We played street hockey. We loved hockey. And I was like, sure, why not? And it really wasn't, we had a few girls, which there it probably wasn't so weird because that's what was there to do, it was ice skating was pretty big where I was from. So it was really I don't know, where I grew up, we all grew up together. So it wasn't like a thing, people didn't move to our town. People came to college in our town, but you were born and raised with the same small class that, we all just looked out for each other, had fun and played sports and threw down,
So you just like contact sports from the beginning, huh?
Yeah. I there's just something about having your hands on someone. In hockey, same thing with MMA. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the best, puck handler. But I was a great wing. And you weren't getting through me, it was just, I've always just been a force, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's something about belting another person that is
Yeah.
immediately stress relieving, and it's very helpful as like a kid. Like,
It's
like
very satisfying.
yeah, like I've played rugby for like a long time now, and like I used to go just to hit the pads and like training and stuff like that, just to relieve some stress and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I know that when I was growing up, everybody fought in high school or whatever, meet me out at the tree or whatever. But nowadays you can't do that, man. These kids know more.
We
Yeah,
have
they're trained.
bleachers. It was seriously in our town. If you had a problem with someone, you told them, you met them, you hashed it out, and it was squashed. And on to the next thing. Like nobody really, you just took care of things,
Well, now you got to worry about getting armbarred and choked out. When I was a kid, people didn't know all that stuff. Like, I think I was 13 when UFC 1 came out. You know what I mean? So I was like, people didn't know that stuff. As a teenager now, I'd be like, is he all trained?
I didn't know about it.
Fight that guy.
I didn't know about it until my coach, until 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I had never watched MMA. I knew about boxing, of course, but I never really, it wasn't a thing to me. I was like, you fight? What's that? Of course, I was one of those, what's UFC? Like, now I know.
What was the feeling like the first time you walked down for your first fight?
Oh my God. My first fight was outdoor at a strip club. We had no idea. I fought up. It was her town. These people are screaming at me, she's going to effing kill you. I hope you die. I got the sun in my eyes. I'm like, I'm just ready to get out there and throw down.
At least it was daytime outside a strip club.
Yeah.
You don't want to be fine outside a strip club.
Like, what's wrong with these people? I mean, I'm not easily intimidated. I've never really had like people get really bad adrenaline going into the cage or nervous about I grew up fighting. You know what I mean? Like everything I've been through in life, the cage never even comes close. I mean, I've been through it. I've been there. I've been in situations that most people couldn't survive, So I don't get like that. I get nervous, like you don't want to let people down. You want to show that all the time and effort they put into you is paying off and that you've learned. But at the end of the day, it's a fight. I mean, can you throw and make it hurt? Can you finish something? I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't, change the outcome of my life. I got my family, I've got God, I got my friends. I mean, none of that changes according to what happens in that cage. So really it's just about me getting to, for all the reasons that got me into it. Every time I get into it, from the first time to the last time, it's a fight, and it's to prove something to myself and to nobody else. And, I do the best I can when I get out there, I'm always going to leave it all out there.
So when you think back on your fights, is there one that sticks out in your head? Like every time, like the one, like you start thinking and you're like, something about that fight just sticks in your head?
I think I had two. I had the fight that I was broken. I just was so brokenhearted that I did everything I could to win. It was my second Worlds. I did everything I could to win that fight. I mean, I dealt with a knee injury the whole camp. I went there and I just wrestled this girl. I mean, I really felt like I took the fight. And when I found out I lost, like it was devastating, because it was just like to leave everything out there. Just, there was nothing left. Like I still look at the picture of afterwards, like my nose is bleeding. I got the flag up. I'm just, And the other fight was the one I won at Worlds, the last one, which I went into that fight and I said I had tried twice before to win Worlds, to go and win a gold medal. And I'd gone to other countries and I'd gone without coaches and I had fought people I didn't know who I was going to fight. And I said, nobody thought I could do it, And I said, I am not leaving Singapore without a medal. I am winning this fight. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's happening. I mean, I was just revved and pumped, and I went out there and I did what I said I was going to do, And I think those are the two fights that really meant a lot, to what I could do. And
so when it comes to the one you lost, was that a decision?
Yeah.
So I have a huge pet peeve as a combat sports fan with the way they are judged. And I think they have the wrong idea, and they need way more judges, and they need way more people who understand MMA. I've watched too many fights where they don't credit ground control, or like you got a guy or a girl working from the bottom, and the person on top's just laying, but they get the round because they're laying on. So I have a real problem with MMA judging. But what was it like to fight in Singapore or other places in the world? That's got to be super exciting.
It's so hard because you're not only dealing with the weight, which I'm Greek, we love to eat, you know. I have major issues with food. So making weight in the first place is always like a thing. So you have to deal with, you not only have to make the weight, we have to weigh in every day for these tournaments. So you're traveling to another country and dealing with your weight cut and your weight change, traveling on the airplane, time changes, everything like that. You don't know who you're fighting. They do like a draw, you know, the night before. So you really just have to be prepared for anybody. You don't always know your teammates. You know, you could end up roomed with someone you didn't know. I mean, there's just so many variables and factors, but I love it. It's the hardest of the hard. I mean, you're really just going there, and you have to be super disciplined and fighting your rear off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I imagine it would be really hard to like experience like Singapore as well. Like when you travel, you want to like experience stuff as well.
Yeah.
I imagine like the one thing that everybody knows about Singapore is the food. Like it has, you get Michelin stars for street food in Singapore. Like the street food has Michelin stars attached to it and things like that. But I also thought it would be better to kind of keep the weight in Singapore as well, due to how hot it is. Like when I've been to South China and stuff, and it's so hot, like you're sweating all the time. Like I lost so much weight just through like sweating out. It could be easier in that way as well, I guess, but then you're not losing your weight in the right way. It's not the healthiest way just to like sweat it out.
So the first two worlds were in Bahrain, and that's also a very hot place.
It's also quite hot, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Easy to sweat, yeah. And same thing with Singapore. So the great thing about Singapore is it's big, but it's small.
Yeah.
So to get like groceries and to get anything, you could walk. And while you're walking, you know, you're burning calories and you're sweating and I think it's more of a challenge that one, like you can't eat the good stuff. So I had to wait, but trust me, I tore so much food afterwards. My coach said, I've never seen someone your size consume the amount of food you just consumed, because they have like sushi conveyor lines. So you can just sit there and just keep grabbing it off. I probably had a stack like bigger than me.
Yeah, it's like they're like shopping malls are just like when you think of like a food hall in like the US, and we don't really have those in the UK, but when you think of like a food hall in the US, they're talking Michelin stars noodle dishes for like $1, like the entire thing, and they're just throwing it at you and stuff like that.
And I couldn't have it before, you know, but those trips I know to plan on being there an extra 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
So that, you know, when you get there, you got to focus, you got to train, you have to find food you can eat. You know, you have to do a lot of research, make sure you're going to have exactly or pack what you're going to need, you know, and make sure you situate, find a place to train. The UFC gym in Singapore helped us out not only in Bahrain, but also in Singapore. They let us come there and train. So it really, it takes a lot of legwork beforehand. But it's definitely, it's a great experience, you know?
Yeah, I think it's also a massive surprise that the Olympics doesn't have MMA in it yet. Like you're talking about Worlds, and I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, why wouldn't MMA have the Olympics in it? Like, why
this
like
is
with
the
Olympics
trials to get it ready for the Olympics.
Yeah, of course. And with the Olympics coming to the States soon as well, like you would feel like that would be the perfect time to kind of introduce it. So it is truly a worldwide sport, hence why we have such a good following from both sides of the pond, you know, for this kind of thing.
When you go to a place like Singapore, how hard is it, and how long does it take for your body to adjust to a time change? Because for Maddie and I, even scheduling things with a 6-hour difference can be rough.
Yeah, it's like I'm having to really mess around with the camera at the minute because it's dark outside.
Oh, no, it was so bright when we started.
Yeah, that's how dark.
I was like, oh, you want some sunshine? Forget it.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah,
that's
like
how
it's
dark
8:15 by him right now. So yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, it wasn't. I never had a problem going there. So I just always found I don't sleep. I'm an insomniac. So I found like going there, by the time I get there, like I'm so exhausted because I can't sleep on the plane. I'll sleep straight, and then I'm on schedule. Coming back, it takes me, it's kind of hard. One, I'm eating bad, eating things I shouldn't. So I'm blowing my legs. They laughed at me because my ankles, I had cankles coming back because I ate so much salt, sodium, and awful stuff. My leg, I've never seen such a thing. My legs blew up on the airplane because you're on it for so long. But I don't really, I like international travel a lot. So I've done my research on like there's ways you can change your clock and get ready for the time change and things you can do. And I do all those things. Like there's definitely a formula to it. You just can't shoot from the hip. So I've never had a problem really.
I always find it easiest to just stay awake for the entire flight. Like they've got so many amazing movies and stuff like that. I go the opposite way, which is just like stay awake for the entire thing until you're meant to go to bed on the other side. And then like that's a really good way to like start your jet lag as well. But then how do you then get ready to train and stuff off 1 hour?
So once you sleep, you're fine. You're so excited to be there and you're so ready to win. And but you've been playing. I mean, I know for all the worlds, like I had a long camp. So it's all I thought about. You know what I mean? So I was ready. I was there for a reason. I was ready to make it happen. And
so what's next?
What's next? Well, pro debut September 24th with Next Level Fight Club. I didn't want to climb the mountain this far and not go to the top, which to me means going pro. I wanted to wait though. I've always been, like I said, I've never been one of those fighters that you're like, oh my God, she's amazing. I don't have this great skill, in any certain where my skill is that I'm tough and I persevere, so I wanted to wait till I really felt I was ready for pro because I didn't want to go out there. And I want to make my team and my coaches proud. And I want them to, regardless of the result, to be proud of what they saw out there, So that's why I waited, but I just feel it's time,
I feel like you might agree then. We've talked to like Bellator's Jesse Mealy or like Izzy Williams from Bellator, even Jason Reinhart from UFC, and then other up and coming fighters who are still fighting amateur. And it seems like the people who are very focused are like, I want to fight a ton of amateur fights. I do not care about my amateur record. Just put me in there with them, get me the experience so that when I get to the pros, I've seen it all.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. I fought up, I fought down, I fought short notice. I don't feel I can't say 100%, but that I've ever turned down an opponent as an amateur if I was able to fight. I just, my coach always told me that amateurs are where you just, you learn, you get your experience, that it doesn't matter that now it doesn't mean that record doesn't hurt,
Right.
God, I love to have a unblemished record, but it's not reality, it's.
Well, September 24th, you will have an unblemished record.
I will be 1-0 pro.
And it's also MMA, like, I'm not trying to just down him, but Floyd Mayweather dodged some guys in their prime to keep his record. You can't do that in MMA. I don't care how great you are. Jose Aldo was the greatest for how many years, and Conor McGregor slept him in 16 seconds. Or my two favorite fighters in the whole world are Thug Rose Namajunas, because she's from my home state. And then I'm a big Joanna Jędrzejczyk fan. There was no way those two had to collide. You know what I mean? It's just the sport where you can't dodge. So, but I have another question because we talked to quite a few female fighters. Being that there's less fighters than you, or less than the men, have you had problems with women pulling out and not being able to find a replacement? Because that seems to be a big thing we hear from female fighters.
I think more so than having women pull out.
No, I meant fighters pull out, but because there's not enough women, you're kind of trained and you get screwed.
I think we've had a harder time finding fights, regardless. Just getting them in the first place. I had a lucky run as an amateur. Tennessee had a lot of women, so I was able to go to Tennessee and fight a lot. And around here, though, local like South Carolina, and there's really like maybe 4 or 5 of us that fight it. You know, when I started, I did 125. I've just come up to 135. I'm naturally a 125, but because of some circumstance, I just kind of gone up. But there's only a few of us, so it's hard. Like, you really have to travel to find women. And I have a full-time job, you know, it's not easy for me to do that. And for the last few years, I did the worlds. So I
always find that incredible when you do like a full-time job and you're like going into like, because yeah, you're not a pro fighter yet, but to even get in an MMA ring, you have to commit everything like a pro fighter would have to. Like, so it's very difficult you're almost balancing 2 jobs. One of those jobs, you're getting your head knocked off for a living as well. So like, that's really quite hard. Like, lots of people balance 2 jobs and stuff, but not when one of the jobs takes all of your life to get your head knocked off, you know?
I believe if you're going to do it right, you know, and which I do try to do all the right things. I work with a sports psychologist. I pay a nutritionist.
Yeah.
I train 3 to 4 sessions a day sometimes.
Wow.
You know, sponsorships and t-shirts, and I mean, just ticket sales and promotion and everything. Like, I've been running like a chicken for the last 6 weeks. You know, I feel like there's no time, but that's when I made a commitment and I made a choice to do this, to me, that's what it takes, you know. Other people might do it different, you know. I definitely run myself ragged, but I feel that this isn't a sport to joke with. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be serious. If you're going to put yourself out there in that cage and risk getting hurt, and you have family and friends and people that care about you, you owe it to them to put the work in. You know, I have now, as I've gotten older, I've had to realize I've had to do things a little differently. You have to listen to your body. You know, if you got to ebb back a little bit, you got to ebb back. It's just finding that right balance of everything, you know?
It is definitely a sport where if you lose focus, you could definitely be in trouble. So like, it's gotta be
like
hard
not
to let anything get in there. Oh, sorry, Maddie, get in there in the middle of training, because life happens and you have to block all of that out. That's probably got to be one of the harder things about training.
Yeah, like when you're fighting somebody in UFC, you're putting your body on the line. I've seen people when we've been playing amateur rugby and stuff like that, or football, cricket, or whatever, having a smoke like before a game, or like and stuff like that. Like, you definitely can't do that because it's a different world. Like, even the guys that we talk to at Street Beefs, like, that's where we kind of start this all off. Like, the Street Beefs
guys. I know
guys
someone who does that. I know 2 people that do that. Baby Hulk.
Well, if you want to come on the show,
Baby Hulk.
I trained with him in Wilmington. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, that's like where we started. Even those guys, like, you can't lose focus because there's a guy on the other side or a woman on the other side who's gonna knock you out. Like,
well, don't you almost think that could almost be worse? Because do they have people that ref it? I haven't watched one, but is it like outside? And
well, there's different branches. So it started in Virginia with put down guns and put up the gloves and put down the guns. That's how Street Beef started.
Oh, okay.
But then a lot of trained guys started fighting. It wasn't just settling beefs. And then now there's Street Beef Scrapyard in Washington, Street Beefs Texas Anarchy, and I know Street Beefs West Coast. There's 4 branches.
I didn't know all that.
It's became more of guys fighting before they get to amateur.
Yeah.
But there is a ref, but they do it. It's unsanctioned. It's a fight club.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules and regulations though. Like, they can't just like beat the shit out of each other like they do.
Yeah, they don't allow like knees to the head.
I didn't know. I'm like picturing the Wild Wild West. Like,
hey, if you watch some of their videos, that shit looks like the Wild West, to be perfectly honest. Like,
it is insanely cool. And if you ever get bored, just go check out their library on YouTube.
I have to, since I know people that do it. I definitely should check out there, because more and more I feel like I just saw someone the other day did one that I knew. I was like, they're
getting hundreds of thousands of streams per video, so it's a good way for a fighter to get their name out there so they can get on amateur cards and work their way up. It's happened with a lot of them so far.
Yeah, I know David has a lot of followers. Like, he's got a really big fan base coming into amateur MMA, which is pretty unique, you know?
Yeah, because for you guys, like, without the street beefs and stuff, you just have to keep plugging and plugging. And it's almost like
it's a hustle for sure.
you have to promote yourself. And I know with the podcast, when me and Maddie started it, I'm not one to jam myself down.
That's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. So it's got to be hard to promote yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely, you don't want to be on social media all the time saying, oh, me, and and when you're really putting in the work, you don't have the time. Like I feel bad. I hadn't really been on my social media as much as I usually am because it's just been hustling, so it really is hard to get word out there, especially because, you should be doing it for the promoters too. You want to bring people to the event, eyes to the event. I'm lucky, I'm a local. We have a restaurant. We know lots of restaurant people. Like it just brings another aspect of people that don't normally watch it to the sport. So I definitely have a different crowd at my place.
So September 24th. Hey, your dog's excited too. September 24th, your pro debut. Who are you fighting against?
I am fighting against Krista Timms. She's out of, I don't want to get this wrong. She's out of like Atlanta, Georgia area. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and I think maybe judo. She seems, she's going to be a tough opponent. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with, but I like a challenge. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I am very excited for you. We are so thankful for you giving us your time. Everybody, right after, stay tuned. I will drop all of her sponsors. You can go check out their websites and stuff too and support them. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. Maddie, anything else before we let her go?
Yeah, I'm going to have her on the podcast that I host with my girlfriend, which is the Travel Story Society. So I'll have to get in contact with you after that. To talk to you about what it's like to fight MMA all around the world and that kind of thing. I've really enjoyed that. That was an aspect of the conversation I didn't think we were going to get onto. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great fun.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, thank you for all the play we're getting on Facebook. You guys are loving us. Take your asses over to YouTube. Give us some love there too. All right, guys. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.